Good afternoon and welcome to my poster presentation. I'm Laura James, a second year PhD researcher based at the University of Birmingham and working in the field at both the Birmingham Institute for Forest Research FACE facility and the Free Air, Diesel and Ozone Enrichment facility at the University of Reading. Like most people this year, I've had to change the way that I work and to some extent the work that I do. This has led me to embark on a systematic review and meta-analysis of the research on volatile organic compounds released by trees under herbivory pressure. Through this process, I'm hoping to be able to elucidate which chemicals from the many thousands emitted by trees are released exclusively in response to herbivory. My systematic review asks which volatile organic compounds, VOCs, are emitted by trees or show significant increases or decreases under herbivory. How is this moderated by exposure to elevated CO2, O3, or both? The data I intend to analyse are the concentrations of certain VOCs before herbivory and then after herbivory. The difference between these two amounts will function as my size effect metric. There are notable barriers, including the enormous disparity in terms of methodology and data handling within the research, and also actually within the nomenclature. The words and phrases used to describe volatile organic compounds emitted from plants are numerous, really numerous, as you can see from my accompanying table of terms, which is there on the poster. You might be wondering at this point, why this question? Why does it matter? Well, the reason for that is that herbivore populations are massively impacted by top-down control in the form of parasitoids and predators. Top-down control literally shapes ecosystems through putting pressure on herbivore populations, which in turn affects the top-down control that those herbivores then exert over plant populations. This critical top-down control of herbivores is at least partially mediated by volatile chemicals released by the plant, with predators which are sensitive then to particular chemicals or chemical blends locating their prey by detecting these chemicals in the surrounding air. Trees do alter VOC production and emission under elevated CO2, as well as in response to other changes to atmospheric composition, such as NOx emission from diesel engines and increasing ground level ozone. However, not all VOCs will be affected to the same degree, and not all VOCs produced by the plant are directly relevant to these ecological interactions. Therefore, ascertaining exactly which VOCs are produced by plants in response to herbivory, and hence the VOCs that are more likely to be important in attracting the predators, will enable us to explore just how impacted a given ecological relationship is likely to be under elevated CO2 and increasing ozone. The purpose of this poster then is not just to tell you about my research, which is obviously fascinating to me, but I'd also like to use the opportunity to find out what you, as members of the wider forest research community, think about it. To that end, I would appreciate any thoughts, reflections, or feedback that you might have on my primary question, or factors that I'm thinking about including as moderating factors. And we've mentioned elevated CO2 and ozone, but there will be other factors, and I have included some of those in the poster. I particularly value you taking the time to read the various terms that I've put in that table there on the poster, describing the group of chemicals released by plants to the surrounding air, VOCs, as I know them as. If you've used or read other terms, I'd really love to know. This will really support my literature search, and that's critical, of course, to the rigour of the review. I'd also be very interested to hear about any data sets that you might have, or anyone you work with, that pertains to this subject. Or you might even have suggestions of organisations that I could approach for data that's not necessarily been published in the academic literature. You can contact me using the email address at the top of my poster. I've also put it at the top of the chat box there. Alternatively, this poster and this presentation will be publicly available on ResearchGate. So please do look me up on there and take the time to comment if you feel able to. Thank you. You've been listening to Laura James. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your 2021 BIFOR annual meeting. Goodbye. Thanks very much.